Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Aquarius for June 2015. Go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, to see more about my personal live coaching sessions, and also to see more about my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine, which is intended to help you bring your shine into the world. And while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community. So what's going on in June? Oh my gosh, there's so much sweetness in this month. It's crazy. I did not even really realize until I drilled down into this month just how many gorgeous, amazing transits there are this month. And I'm so happy to report it because I know there have been a lot of heavy energies in that. In May, we just had oppositions with Saturn and things with Neptune, and it's just been kind of challenging. So we have a lot of sweetness in this month, but we do start off the beginning of the month with a carryover of the energy of May, especially specifically with these challenging aspects to Neptune. So the full moon on June 2nd is shadowed and affected by this square, which is an unfavorable aspect. I say unfavorable, of course, but we know we're going to frame it into how it can become favorable, right? But by nature, it brings challenge. So a square, when a planet is making a square, the aspects of that planet, or each planet involved, tend to be the more negative ones that they can be. We all know, living on this dual Earth plane, this planet of duality, that there's positive and negative, or a spectrum of experiences that can be associated with every sign, every placement, every planet. And so when we have something in a challenging angle, the ones that are more negative or challenging tend to be brought out. So Neptune, in its challenging aspects, is associated with confusion. That's going to be a key theme for the end of May, the beginning of June. Confusion, not having all the information, things happening in the backdrop without you knowing about them, not necessarily favorable, secrets, things that are secret coming to light. Avoidance, escapism, addictions, these kind of things are very prominently brought up in the shadow of Neptune. And this theme has really been strengthened at the end of May and brings us into the beginning of June. But after that, there's a lot of sweetness. So we'll talk about all that to come. Let's go through the hard part right now first. I'm glad it's at the beginning of the month, right? So something comes to completion, to fruition. And since Sagittarius is one of the planets that rules freedom, you're going to be freed from something. But because of the emotional nature of it, you might not recognize the positive aspects of it until some time later. It's the ending of something, a closing of something that will give you more freedom ultimately. If you have to commit to something, if you have to agree to something, if you can avoid doing it at that time of the month, it will be better. We still do have Mercury in retrograde until June 11th, and then with the several days after it where it gets kind of haywire. So really, until June 14th, we want to stay away from making any agreements. And Mercury shadow, the retrograde shadow that happens after the retrograde, goes through June 27th. So it's not completely clear until June 27th, but every day that passes after around June 14th, it gets more and more clear, and it's less and less affecting you. So that coupled with the square to the full moon with Neptune, is just more reason to just try not to agree to anything because you don't have the full story yet. This is a wonderful time to sharpen your intuition. This is why any training, any focus you have on highlighting your intuition is going to benefit you during any challenging transits, because if someone isn't telling you something, if your intuition is sharp, you're going to know that there's something that you don't know. You're going to know exactly what to do. So that is something that you can do in your life that will help you no matter what. And it's really highlighted here at the beginning of the month. So I would leave some time, if you can. Don't overschedule yourself those couple of days, because you're not going to know what the hell's going on, basically. And people are very put off by that. We want to know what's going to happen, right? We want to know what's going to happen at the end. We want to know it's going to be a happy ending. And if it's not a happy ending, we're annoyed about it. At least I am, anyway. But this is like that. You're not going to know the whole thing. So if you can just accept that, leave some space around being uncomfortable so you can be uncomfortable in peace without having so much you have to do, then that would be a good idea. Okay. So now let's talk about more sweet aspects. Starting from June 5th through the very end of June, June 29th, we have amazing aspects involving Mars and Venus and the Sun and Jupiter and Uranus, and one great aspect even involving Saturn. So these are sweet spots. Uranus is involved with a lot of these aspects, which bring surprises. They bring happy surprises. When Uranus is in a positive aspect, which it is through the whole month, those same things that were not happy surprises when Uranus was in challenging aspects in these previous months, specifically with the eclipse and anything associated with the eclipse, bad news came. Felt like it came out of the blue. Felt very jolting, very unsettling. Uranus, with these nice aspects, they're happy surprises. They're things that are like, wow, that's really cool. Okay? So we don't know what's going on in your personal chart. You could have something superseding that, or challenges could come, but specifically the general astrology is just really awesome. So some dates to be aware of course, are June 11th, Mercury's going direct in Gemini. The several days before, so around, June 8th, June 9th, until around June 13th, June 14th, that's the most chaotic part of the Mercury retrograde, is when it's about to go forward and then it does, and it's kind of getting situated. It's like similar to if you're not a morning person, and going direct would be the equivalent of waking up. When you wake up, you're all over the place. You don't know what's happening. People are talking to you and you need them to be quiet because it's way too much. That's what the energy is like when Mercury is going direct, or any planet is going direct. There's just like, it's like putting the brakes on and making a U-turn. It's awkward. So the dates between June 11th and June 14th are going to be pretty awkward. But even still, while that's going on, we have multiple sweet transits. So cool things could be happening. Just mind your communication and transportation things, and try to not sign or agree to anything if you can help it. The energy will clear as it gets more after June 14th. So June 5th, we have a Mars in Gemini sextile Jupiter in Leo aspect. Sextile is a 60-degree angle. It's very favorable. Then on June 5th and 6th, we have Venus in Leo trining Saturn in Sag. A trine is a fabulous angle. We've got this brilliant, fiery expression, and it's involving Saturn. So a lot of times we're used to Saturn kind of being like the bummer and the beast, But in this aspect, I liken it very much to Ebenezer Scrooge after he's been enlightened with all of these things that have been happening to him with visiting people, the visitors, and that love comes in his heart, So Saturn can be kind of tough and cold like that, but when Venus flirts with him, in this lovely aspect, in this vibrant fire energy, and this is especially beneficial for you as an air sign because anything going on in fire is in a favorable aspect to your sign. So it's just like, the same way he goes and shares all of his prosperity with everybody, then that's what this is like. It's because Venus rules love and beauty and money and aesthetics, and Saturn is this kind of solid, rich energy, and Venus already rules money, so good money news can come in at that time, and something that could benefit you for a while to come because Saturn brings long-term things. So then we have the Sun in Gemini sextiling Jupiter in Leo, and so we've got Mars and then the Sun making these awesome aspects to Jupiter. So Jupiter is the great expander. It expands everything it touches. It brings benevolence and sparkles and optimism and renewed sense of hope. And you have Mars, which rules how you use your energy, and the Sun, which rules what you want and your vibrance. And it's making these favorable aspects to Jupiter. So people can come in and help you. This opposite to what we were talking about at the beginning of the month, the end of May, there was this energy of people working behind you, not for you. Working kind of, the energies behind your back not working well. Oh, that actually reminds me. Guard your internet stuff during that time, because things going on behind your back could be breaches in internet security. So if you're watching this before the beginning of June, you definitely want to change your passwords, do all of those things to make sure that your stuff is secure. But in any case, now over here where we have the Sun and Mars in this aspect with Jupiter, people can be overtly helping you. And like, here, have something awesome. Someone shows up on your behalf in a big way where it's like, wow, if they weren't there, what would have happened? Okay, we don't have to think about that, right? Because they did show up at the right time. There's a lot of energy with synchronicities associated with these aspects in these favorable angles, especially with Jupiter, where it's like you're there at the right time. There's so many, I mean, there's too many to list that I've just showed up somewhere because I felt like I needed to be there and then something magical happened. Again, another reason to sharpen your intuition. But if you feel a draw to go somewhere or drive a certain way or just like follow that and see the magic on the other end. And that's going to be true for the whole month, but especially with these aspects with Jupiter. June 8th, June 9th. Okay, so then June 9th, besides the, so June 5th, we have the Mars and Jupiter aspect. With June 8th, we have the Sun and Jupiter aspect. And then June 9th, we have Mars and the Sun making a favorable angle, a sextile to Uranus and Aries. So again, this fire-air fest continues. All of this stuff is happening in fire or air or something that is conducive for you. So you might literally just be on fire. So watch for fire hazards. That's something that's not good, that can come from so much energy that is positive. It can go to excess, you know. If you have something you need to launch, if you have something you need to bring out, and you can't wait until November. If you've been listening to my forecast, you know that from May through October, we have personal planets being retrograde that don't make it the best time to launch things. It's kind of a time to go back over things or bring things from the past, like dust them off and bring them out. But if there's something you really have to do and you can't wait until November, because that's a really long time, the end of June, from around June 14th through the end, has these sweet aspects, and you're not too badly affected by the Mercury retrograde. It will be present. You're not too badly affected by the Venus shadow. You know, it will be present, but it's still less, you know? So it's not my favorite. Like if you have something you've been working on your whole life and you're finally bringing it out, it's not my favorite time for you to do that, but it could be a good time. There's a lot of sweetness around this, you know? So you just follow your intuition, follow the flow, don't force anything, but this is a good window that you're not going to have again for a while for bringing new things out. So specifically on June 16th, we have a new moon in Gemini. It's always great to bring new things out when there's a new moon. And there's all of these great aspects flanking this new moon time. So that makes this a pretty good time for bringing out something new if you have to do it. So then we have, June 9th, we have Mars and the Sun sextiling Uranus and Aries. Whenever Uranus is involved, there's always this aspect of a surprise, you know, something that comes out of the blue, like lightning. It's like, whoo, it wasn't there, now it's there. Like, wow, how did that happen? But again, it should be more likely to be a happy surprise. But it's still this element of being like surprised. So you can't really anticipate necessarily what's going to happen because it's by nature a surprise. And even if you did anticipate it, you're somehow going to feel surprised by it because that's just how this planet is. So then we have some other bigger things happening, like Neptune is going to start going retrograde. And that happens June 12th. Some planets actually do better when they're retrograde. Mercury isn't one of them in general, you know, because I mean, it's good for certain things, but it's about movement, you know, so I guess as long as you're moving backwards in retrograde, then it could be a positive thing. But Neptune is a very deep, emotional, internal energy anyway. So it kind of thrives, similar to Pluto, it thrives in a retrograde. I think of Neptune in retrograde as like the Harry Potter dealing with his fear from the inside being very vividly played out in the form of others outside of him. You know, this is what we're all doing. We have this hologram. We see something outside of ourselves. We say, oh, that's out there. That's a problem. What we need to be saying is, oh, that's in there. That's a problem. And then we work on it from the inside out. Neptune rules addictions and escapist energies. So as things are brought to light when Neptune is in retrograde, the pattern of going into avoidance is going to be more prominent as well. So try to not do that. Try to do something different. Try to get assistance in clearing things up from the core of where it started. So if you have any problems in your life, most of those things are going to be based on challenges from your childhood. we can't comprehend this completely because the language that we spoke, the way our brain processed information as children when these problems were imprinted is different than how our brain works now. So we can't even really conceive of the difference. We can intellectualize it. We can read in a book, or I can tell you that your brain wiring changes between 6 and 9, around 7 years old. The brain gets wired for mental constructs. Then once we go into mental construct land, we never go back to the world of felt perception that the child lived until the brain wiring change happened. And if you know any children around this age, really study this, because this is the best way to understand what happened to you. They're seeing things differently. They're waking up, the light's coming on. But the problems were stored in child speak. That's why they're so elusive. You know, and this is a magical thing to understand, is that we go about trying to resolve problems from childhood that are creating problems in adulthood by doing things the adult mind does. It thinks, it reasons, it's logical, it talks, it writes, it intellectualizes things. And then we can get some nice awarenesses and breakthroughs that way, and we can have some shifts. But why those really big shifts continue to elude you, if you're using the language of the mental constructs, is because the problems were not stored that way. This is like a Mac and a PC. They're totally different languages. And you need a bridge, like Parallels is the program that bridges a Mac and a PC. You can use them both on the same device. So you need tools that teach you how to translate adult problems into child speak language. And you know my all-time favorite thing that teaches you how to do the translating is The Presence Process by Michael Brown. Presence, P-R-E-S-E-N-C-E, by Michael Brown. But anything that you can do, including EMDR, neurolinguistic programming, certain other psychological tools, it translates into the language of the child. And until you do that, you're going to continue to have problems in your life. You're going to continue to listen to horoscopes and only have part of the best things come through for you because your internal psyche is blocking the rest of it. So now, with all that being said, we still have lots of sweet aspects, and Neptune is going retrograde while all of this is happening. Oh, by the way, before we get to the rest of the fabulous aspects that are global, some specific things happening for Aquarius is first of all, that Venus is going to be accentuating your 7th house. Now, for you early Aquarius placements, this is going to be happening right from the beginning of June. The later degree or the later birthday Aquarius you have, this is going to be staggered into June, maybe even into July before this happens. But it is going to happen. And what happens is that Venus is moving into your 7th house. And Venus brings harmony, and it brings love, and it brings money, and it brings sweet energy to your relationships. I can't tell you how many times I have seen when someone has Venus in their 7th house that if they're already with the person that they want to be with, that they have sweet moments that happen for the several weeks that Venus is there. And for people who are looking for someone, it happens very much that a romantic event happens of a noteworthy experience, a noteworthy type of experience, So you have that, and you still have Jupiter affecting your romantic sector here, which is your relationships, but it's also all your relationships. All your relationships can be positively affected with this Venus transit, which is a shorter term, and the Jupiter transit, which is a longer term. And again, that will be staggered for Aquarius, whether you're early, middle, or late. If you're not feeling that expansion in your romantic or your relationship sector, that's coming still. So while Venus is in the 7th house, Mars, which rules how you use your energy, also rules sexual energy, is in the 5th house of romance. So, and the new moon is there. So we've got all of this energy of love and romance and fun and relationship and harmony blessing the Aquarius, specifically the Aquarius chart. Now, if you're a late degree Aquarius or late birthday Aquarius, then you might experience the new moon and some of that Mars energy still in the 4th house. So the new moon can either bring new love for you or a new chapter with your sweetie, or it can bring a new home. And for some of you, this is going to be one of the best times of the year for getting something gelling with your home sector, something involving home and family. Okay, so back to the other transits. So then and the June 16th is that new moon. And then we've got a power day, June 21st, when the sun moves into Cancer, and we have the summer solstice, the day of most light of the year. Then we have Jupiter in Leo trining Uranus and Aries. So we've got all of these sextiles to Jupiter and Uranus, and then of course Jupiter and Uranus themselves are making this wonderful aspect, 120-degree angle. So lots of surprises in store, lots of renewed optimism, lots of renewed hope. The last couple of days of June, around the 28th, 29th, we have Venus in Leo making a sextile to Uranus and Aries. So much around love and money and surprises and expansion. And so I'm hoping that that shows up for you all big time. And if it's not, remember what I said about the inner work and get cracking on that so you can make the most of these transits now and in the future. And if you want some help doing that, I would love to help you. That's my department. You can go to my website, aspiritualspark.com. or click on the link below this video. Also, check out my Shine program. This is so fun. This was intended to help you clear out the blocks that are interfering with you shining your brilliance in the world. The world benefits when each of us take our unique gifts and bring them out. Okay, so we want you to do this. And if you feel ready for going inward in a playful but also effective way, then check out my Shine program. It's available on a sliding scale. The lower end of the scale is accessible to everyone. So you definitely want to check that out on my website. And I hope you have a wonderful June. Oh, and definitely sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community. See you next month. Bye.